Morning everyone. So it's time to hit the road once more. I've enjoyed my weekend break in Dubrovnik, although I was slightly disappointed with the Old Town section. The weekend itself was great, of course, seeing the missus, and hopefully we're meeting up again in Bratislava in 2.5 weeks' time. For now though, I need to get cycling again. I'm heading towards Split and then Slovenia. First of all, I'm going to stay the night in Bosnia, which will be tonight, which is in a place called Num. Bosnia actually splits Croatia in half, and they've got a small section which leads down for sea access. So I'm going to be cycling across Bosnia, just a one night there, but at least I can say I've stayed there, can't I? So I will hit the road and I will give you some videos and stuff and narration from the road and speak to you in a bit. Bye.
So this is me leaving the apartment in Dubrovnik. I was staying in the port area, and actually the area I was staying in was called Briggs, which is near the bus station. The cruise ships pulled into the area, and the cruise ships are, well, it is unbelievable how big they are. You see this bridge in front of us here? Well, one of the cruise ships only just fitted underneath there, and that's one that I saw when I cycled in. I was half expecting to see some cruise ships as I cycled out, but unfortunately there weren't any there. That will teach me to take some video of it the first time round, won't it? Well, as I cycle up to the bridge now, maybe I should just explain a little bit about the Dubrovnik video that I made previously. I understand it's going to be quite a controversial one because I haven't said everything is wonderful and fluffy and sublime and all the rest of the things that people normally either write about or vlog about. You know, I didn't come away thinking that the old town of Dubrovnik was all wonderful. I thought it was very beautiful, but I didn't think there was anything underneath the surface. You know, that's the way I thought about it, and that's the way it is. And hopefully you guys by now will know that, you know, if I like something, I'll let you know why I like it. And if I don't like something, I'll let you know why I don't like something. You know, there's no pretense there, that's just me. Anyhow, continuing on with the cycle ride instead. Cycling mainly along the Croatian coastline, which was absolutely gorgeous in this section. It was a lot better than the section leading up to Dubrovnik, so this is a really nice section of coastline to enjoy. You can't really see it from my bicycle camera here, so at some point I think I pull over to just so you can see the water a little bit. But it's a really nice experience, and I guess if you there you go, that's what I was on about. And but I guess if you hired a car, you could probably have a nice coastal drive. It's probably something to be recommended. Obviously, I would recommend you do it on a bicycle instead. Everyone should be on bicycles, shouldn't they, really? So on the left was mainly the coastline and water, and it might be a river or an inlet or a bay. And on the right there was this sort of like wooded areas and rocky areas. And at some point I came across some windmills as well, which were pretty cool. It's always nice to see windmills, a way of creating power which doesn't put a load of crap into the atmosphere. Perhaps we should have more of them, you never know, might be a good idea. So, today I was heading to Num, which is in Bosnia. Now, as I explained, Bosnia has like a 10-kilometre wide stretch which splits Croatia in half, which goes down to the sea. So this means another border crossing. Now this border crossing was so simple, I even wonder why the border was there at all. I mean, I think I gave the passport to the guy in the box. He looked at it, he shrugged his shoulders, gave me the passport back and kind of waved me on my way. Well, thank you very much, mate. And I'm still not sure if that was the Croatian side or the Bosnian side, because the passport only got checked once. So I'm thinking tomorrow I'll need to go through another border control to get back into Croatia again, if that makes sense. There was no welcome to Bosnia sign, but that's fair enough. It's a new country for me, and I'm quite happy anyway. So I headed towards Num, and the destination was a campsite for the night. And I didn't really know what to expect. I've managed to pay for one thing in kuna and one thing in euros in Bosnia, so currency was not an issue. And I didn't know what the town itself would be like. For some reason I thought it'd be a sleepy little fishing village or something, but it was actually quite a big resort area, so always nice to see something new with fresh eyes. And then it was a matter of just heading towards a campground and then setting up for the night. So the rest of the video will be me talking in the campsite probably. So let's cue that now.
Hi there, so as you can see I made it to the campground in Num, and this is my first and only night in Bosnia for this trip. I'm the only one in the campground, €10 a night, which is alright. What should I say about the day's cycle? Really easy, tailwind all the way really, and some nice sights of the coastline along the way. 140 kilometres to go till Split, so got 2 days to go there, so split it in half. Haha, split, get it? Never mind. And that's all I'm going to say, because otherwise I'll come out with another crap joke and it won't be very funny, will it? Speak to you later. Good morning everyone. So I'm all packed and ready to go. I've got about 80 or 90 kilometres to go today. It really depends on where I find a campsite around that mark. I've not got an actual destination in mind. And I've been led to believe that the road is flat. That was from a non-cyclist, so there's probably like Mount Everest in the way or something. The only slight drawback of today that I can see so far is that it's quite a hot one already. It's 9 o'clock and I can already feel the heat. So I'm going to take it nice and easy, drink plenty of water. I'm sure it'll be no worries. So I'll leave you for now and show you some videos from the road. Cheers. So it was just one night in Bosnia in the end, which on the one hand is a bit of a shame, but on the other hand it means it's a country that I just have to go back to and do some bicycle touring. It's always nice to add another country to the list that I want to go and visit. So it's a short bicycle ride to the border again, and on the left hand side you can see the coastline, and I followed the coast all the way through the rest of Bosnia and Croatia to where I finished. It was a 100-kilometre day in the end, and because of the clear blue sky the views were absolutely incredible, and this part of coastline is, it is really beautiful. And look, saying it now because I'm doing the narrating a couple of days later, the coastline between Split and Dubrovnik is pretty awesome. So I really recommend either doing it on a bike or hiring a car, or if you can do that section of coastline yourself, it is very much worth it. So as I said, it's a matter of now cycling towards the border, and it was another informal border crossing. I sort of get there and a guard shrugs his shoulders and looks at the passport. I'm not honestly sure if he stamped it or scanned it or not, but anyway, I'm in Croatia now, so that's all I need to say about that really. And there's no like welcome to Croatia sign on the other end. Once I go through, you'll see in a minute, because there's a motorcyclist who's taken a picture. It kind of just lets you know what the speed limits are and things like that in the new country that you're now in, which is one of the good things about Europe, because you just pass through border crossings quite easily from country to country. And obviously with the Brexit issue being a bit of a problem right now in the UK, this brings home just how easy it is to travel between countries, which is something as a traveller you do appreciate. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't vote to leave the EU, or you should vote to leave the EU. I'm just saying it makes life a lot easier when you're travelling. Now this 10% sign there, yep, that's a good sign that the guy who said that this road was flat did not know his arse from his elbow, because it was quite hilly for most of the day. I think overall I did about 1,000 kilometre total ascent, which is pretty good, but then you get these absolutely awesome views as a reward for all the hard work. This is a lake area, and well, yeah, I took my time and had something to eat and admired the view for a while, because, well, I'd earned the view, so I wanted to admire it. So what else is there to say then? Like I said, this part of Croatia is really, really beautiful. And there's a couple of things I've noticed. So a lot of the towns that I'm passing through have many places, apartments to rent. But there's one thing that they don't do is put the price outside. So later on in the day when I was getting tired, I might have gone for an apartment if I'd known what the price was, but there was no prices. Still, seems strange. And there's a lot of construction going on, so new houses being built, that sort of thing. Unfortunately today my GoPro ran out, so I'm going to end this video almost very abruptly. I'm sorry it's so short, but I promise to do better tomorrow when I arrive in Split. So I finished the day in Markaska, and I will talk to you later. End of video, Briggs out. Morning guys, so I'm about to hit the road again. Just stayed at a campsite which was €15.40 for the night, just for me in a tent, which I think is a little bit expensive really. I think €10 is about right, but €15? Come on guys, come on Croatia, sort your prices out. So now I'm heading to Split. It's about 60 kilometres, and by comparison I'm heading to a hotel room which is going to cost me €20 a night. So probably value for money, it's going to be better, assuming it's got a roof of course. So, anything else to say? No, should be reasonably flat. Yesterday wasn't flat, as I explained in the previous video. And I'll just get on with it. So, I'll see you in Split. Cheers. So, as you can see, I'm leaving on the road once more. But rather than talk about the road, I thought I'd just briefly mention how I'm making these vlogs. So, I'm using two cameras. The camera in the morning is my phone camera, and that's when I do like my morning take, and I also finish the evening take with my phone camera as well. And then during the day I'm using a GoPro, and then at night what I do is I go through all the clips, I label them up, so like the first one will be called first clip, and then I go through all the GoPro clips that I want to use and name it clip 1, clip 2, and then I put them all together
in a editing suite and then do the narration all in one take. So this voice that you're hearing now, which is a little bit boring and I'm sure you hate it by now, although you still seem to be listening, this is all done in one take. So I have no script or anything, I'm just kind of just going with it. So which is probably why there's lots of ums and ahs, which annoy me, but hey, what the hell, I haven't got time to sit down and script everything. Anyway, let's have a look at the road. So a lot of the landscape on this particular trip, on this section of the cycling, was this granite. I'm not a geologist, I assume it's granite. And I can imagine in the heat of summer it will be quite reflective and keep a lot of the heat in. Today was a little bit overcast, so there was more humidity than anything else. And as I said, it was reasonably flat for most of the way, so not a problem. A few little climbs, but there was some dramatic sort of scenery and you passing through these great little villages, and there was also 2 tunnels today. So the first one, it was just a little short one, so no worries. The second one was a little bit longer. Now there wasn't a sign saying how long it was, so I prepared myself again, went in, but this one is actually lit. But even so, you kind of get to this halfway stage and it's not like you feel wobbly on the bike, but all of a sudden you're not entirely sure if you're completely upright. It's a very weird sensation. It's like you're floating almost. But then once I was past the halfway stage again, it was easy to get out. And a lot of the traffic in the tunnel went around me nicely, which is more than they normally do on the road because sometimes they don't give me a lot of room, but in the tunnel they did. So yeah, you live and you learn. So once I was out the tunnel, it's cycling on once more, and there's some new sections of road work being built. There's obviously I can't use a motorway, so I'm using what would be like the normal highway, and that they're building a motorway to the right hand side. So this is a new intersection, and the surface on this is really good, but again there's not much of a shoulder. It's a shame really, because Croatia would be the perfect bicycle touring destination if it had, like, if you imagine like one bicycle lane that was segregated from the road and that would just follow this dramatic coastline with all these seaside towns and things, always keeping the bicycles separated. It would be it would be wonderful. It would be like a bicycle touring destination for everyone to go to, because the scenery is incredible. So this little town I passed through, I'd forget the name, I'm going to say it's Omnis, but I could be wrong there, you know what I'm like with names. After this town, it was pretty much solid sort of built up areas all the way to Split after here. But this town itself was really nice, and I've kind of become aware that there's a lot more to the Croatian coastline with these little towns and villages that I've never heard of, and I'm sure you've never heard of either. And it must be a very nice place to come and explore, with a bit more time. Unfortunately, I'm on a bit of a tight schedule, so although I might have wanted to have stayed in that town, I couldn't do it, unfortunately. One more thing to mention, the GoPro ran out of battery yet again. So my one tip is, if you're going to use a GoPro, is to get 2 batteries, and then when it does run out halfway through the day, you can still keep filming. I think I've got like the card itself, the memory card, keeps about an hour's worth of film on it, so that's not a problem, but the actual battery life is a problem on the GoPro. So, unfortunately, I've got no cycling images of me entering Split, and when I arrived it rained. After the rain, I did have a couple of hours to look around. This is the only video I took, and then after this I've got some still photos, which you can see here. And if you're interested in looking at any more photos, then please visit my website at www.davestravelpages.com, and you'll find links there to my Pinterest account, my Instagram account, the Facebook page as well. So, and all these different accounts have all got different images, videos and all sorts of stuff like that. So I'm going to finish talking. That's the end of this vlog, and tomorrow I leave Split and continue my journey northwards. Thanks a lot, hope you subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.
Morning everyone. So I'm packed and ready to leave Split, and when I arrived yesterday a massive thunderstorm opened up, so I was only able to see the city for a couple of hours. But even so, I liked it a lot more than Dubrovnik, so my recommendation is, if you can only do one, then do Split. On to the day cycling then. I need to head northwards. I've got a deadline to meet in Slovenia within, I think it's like 5 or 6 days time. And I understand the terrain reaching there is going to be quite difficult. So normally I have an end destination for each day in mind, but for this part of the trip I haven't. I know that I need to do about 80 kilometres a day, so once I get to that stage I'll start looking for a campsite, and it's kind of in my interest to do a little bit more each day if I can. So this is probably going to be the tougher part of my journey, but at the same time it could also be quite an exciting part, because I might throw in some wild camping, I'll go to places I hadn't really read about, so that's all part of the adventure. So I will stop talking now and give you some video from the road, assuming that my battery lasts in the GoPro again, of course. And I will talk to you in a bit. Cheers for now.
Hi there, so I'm about 35 kilometres into the day's cycle ride and just taking a break in a lay-by, which I shall show you because I've got quite a nice view over to the sea. So there's my bike behind me there. This is going to get all wobbly. And now, because I turn you around, I won't even know if you can see the sea or not until I edit the video. So maybe you're just getting a view of a crash barrier, I have no idea. Or the clouds. Anyway, I'll stop rambling. So leaving Split was quite easy. I went through an industrial area and then I've taken like a quieter coastal route away from the main dual carriageway, although I think I've now joined back up with Route 8. So I've probably got about another 40 or 50 kilometres to go, just depends on where I find a campsite. The weather's held off. There was rumours that it was going to rain today, but so far no rain. And that's about it really. Yeah, everything's nice and easy, so I'll continue cycling. Speak to you in a bit. Hi there, so I've made it to another campground for the night, and as you can see the tent set up behind me, and there's the bike. The bike's given me no problems at all on this trip, thank you very much Stanforth. In fact, I've not even had a puncture, although why did I say that, because no doubt we'll have a series of them. Damn you stupid Briggs. So this campsite, I'm going to take you over here, and then I'm going to turn around so you can see how close the sea is right by the sea. How awesome is that? And if I angle that, can you see the colour of the water? Yeah. And this campsite, if I've interpreted the guide correctly, is just going to cost me 20 kuna, and that's less than €3. So that'll be my cheapest camping so far. But shh, don't tell anyone else. Anything else to say? Nah, not really. It was a pretty easy day, 70 kilometres and flat-ish. I think it was a total ascent of about 600 metres. So what's that? What's that between friends? Tomorrow's going to be a lot tougher though. I need to really kick some kilometres out tomorrow, and it's going to be all sorts of rocky terrain. So I'll eat well tonight, sleep well, and then hit the road tomorrow. Speak to you then. Cheers. Hi there, so as you can see, the bike's all loaded behind me and ready to go. It's a lovely thunderstorm last night, lots of lightning and loud crashes of thunder. There wasn't much rain, but my tent was waterproof anyway, so no worries. About 80 or 90 kilometres to go today, so we'll see what the day brings. I'll give you some videos from the road. Cheers for now. So the campsite that I was staying at was called Camping Thomas, and it was halfway between a town called Primiston and another town called Broderica. As it turned out, it cost me 40 kuna to stay there for the night, which is still a bargain, so I think it's around about €5. So thank you very much Camping Thomas, and I managed to charge all my gear up. I even washed some clothes there and dried them out on the line, although the thunderstorm then made them slightly wet again. But never mind, it's all part of the fun of bicycle touring. Talking of which, if you are planning a bicycle tour in Croatia or any of the countries that I'm passing through on the Greece to England cycle ride, you might find my website useful at www.davestravelpages.com. And if you have a look there, you'll find that there's a menu system at the top. Just click onto the Greece to England cycle ride, and there's tons of information in there about all the countries I'm passing through. So I'm writing articles about bicycle touring in each country, so I've already got Albania and I've got Greece on there. Montenegro's coming, obviously Croatia's coming, and every country I go through I'll be writing an article. And in the article I'll be including the vlogs that I'm making, some details about the road, and also the routes that I took, because I'm recording everything on my GPS, and then the maps are there. So if you happen to be planning a bicycle tour, you might find it useful. You can see the routes that I took and the roads that I took, and if you want to follow the same road, then that's great. So, back onto the bicycle touring of the day itself. It was a longish day, but quite rewarding. It was a bit of a mixed bag, as you'll see later on, in terms of the weather. This is, Croatia is a beautiful country, I have to say. I think my eyes have been opened wide with how beautiful Croatia is. Not just the coastlines. There's the inner parts are beautiful as well. Although I'm not going inland a great deal. But the mountains are certainly ever present and are beautiful, and yeah, it's been a very nice experience. In some ways though, I'm still a little bit hesitant about the prices of some things. I still think it's quite an expensive country, certainly compared to the other countries that I've come through the Balkans to reach here. But that price is the price, isn't it? So passing through a town and a city here, when I'm cycling through a town and a city, I always want to get through as quickly as I can. It's I don't know, I prefer just hitting the open road more than anything else really. I prefer hitting dirt tracks, but it's on this particular bicycle tour, I haven't got the time, and B, some of the routes that I want to take haven't got dirt track available, but there we go. So as I went through the town, hitting the road again, you can start to see that the clouds are building up, and yes, inevitably it is going to rain very soon. So what do you do when it starts to rain? That is a very good question. Let's find out. The light pitter-patter of rain. In a way, this is sort of the worst sort of rain, and also the worst sort of time of day. So I'm 60 kilometres into the journey. It's a little bit too short to call it a day, even though I've seen some campsites. And it's not quite wet enough to put all my wet weather gear on, because I've still got some hills. So what do? Well, I've decided just to sit it out for 5 minutes in this bus shelter, keeping the Kibo nice and dry. And hopefully the weather will
turn around a bit, because over there, if you can see, there's a nice blue sky, but in the direction I'm heading, it's kind of a little bit cloudy. So I guess I'll play I Spy with myself or some other game to keep myself amused. Speak to you later. Bye. Well, the rain let up in the end, enough for me to hit the road again. I think I was in the lay-by for about 25 minutes or half an hour, so I think it was time well spent really. It just meant that my clothes weren't absolutely soaking, so although the road was a little bit wet when I got onto it again, obviously I'm not a soaking cold mess, which is very good. And as you can see from the video, I'm heading towards that little bit of blue sky. How awesome is that? There's clouds everywhere, but the bit I'm heading for is all blue. Yeah, we like that. So, cycling along, I've been seeing some other cyclists on this trip, and it seems that the further north I go, the more cyclists that I see. Not sure what you call a collection of cyclists. Is it, you know, you have like a school of fish or a flock of birds? You know, is it a pedal of cyclists or a hub of cyclists? I don't know. Anyway, we're about to see a pedal of cyclists in a second. So, as we come up here, you'll find that there's two cyclists coming opposite to me. Now, we seem to be going too fast to stop, and that's happened a few times now, where I've been like going uphill and somebody's been going downhill, and we just whiz past as we've done there. Now, on the right hand side, I'm about to pass another lot of cyclists. However, these aren't touring cyclists, so although they've got bags on the back, I couldn't quite place where they were, and it took me a while to think about it. And I think what they are is they're camper van owners that have probably taken their bikes out for a little ride. So I don't know if you've seen on the video, there's plenty of camper vans going up the road, because you get a lot of retirees from Northern Europe. They come down to the southern countries and spend months there because they can. You know, they've retired, they've got money, they've got their camper vans, that's what they do. And on the backs of them, they've always got bicycles, and I think these guys had just gone out for a cycle and then got caught in the rain. Anyway, they were going far too slowly for me, so I had to show them up a little bit. Okay, they're in their 70s probably, but what the hell, you know? Still got to show them up. So those ones are at the back, and obviously the people in front have already pulled away from them, and they're thinking, yeah, I'm pretty good. But nah, you're not as good as the Briggs, because the Briggs is coming up. The Briggs is going to take you now. Look, yeah, that's right. You look to your left. Yeah, you've been owned. Yeah, you've been owned as well. And the guy in the front, he thinks he's pedalling away. Yeah, you're not happy. You've been totally owned. Who's the boss? Who's the daddy? Sorry, I lost myself there. Anyway, moving on. It was a matter of cycling towards Zadar, and I hadn't really got a fixed destination stop point in mind. It was just a matter of finding a campsite. So around 70, 80 kilometres, I decided to, you know, the next campsite I found, I'd pop in and see how much it cost. And it was a good one. I've taken a picture of the sign, and it's called Camping Bozo. And you'll see that as this final sign now. €8 a night, so not bad. But really, Camping Bozo, check it out. Morning everyone, it's the start of another day, and it looks like it's going to be a hot one as well. It's about 9:30 and I imagine it's 24-25 degrees, so give it another couple of hours and I think we might be touching 30. So I need to drink plenty of water along the way. I've got about 90 kilometres to do today, and I'm heading to a place called Pag Island. It's connected by this end by a bridge, but when I leave Pag Island tomorrow I'll need to take a ferry across to the mainland. So anything else to say? Nah, 90 kilometres, plenty of hills, so I need to drink well and eat well. And I think I'll just enjoy the views and take it nice and easy. So I should give you some videos from the road and talk to you in a bit. Cheers for now. So the campground cost €8 for the night. And what I found is that along this section of Croatian coastline, there's a lot of small auto camps. And if you Google auto camp or camping in Croatia, you're not going to find half of these places. You really kind of have to be on the ground
to find them. So what I would suggest is, if you're planning a bicycle tour, you kind of need to leave some of it for luck. You know roughly where you're going to stay, but you're going to find plenty of camping places. So basically, where there's a small town or a village on the coastline, you're going to find a camping or an auto camp. Now the prices will vary, so just put your head in. If you like the sound of the price, then stay. If you don't, then move on. And obviously the price is also going to depend on the season as well. So when it's peak season, you can expect to pay a lot more. What I learned is to stay away from the bigger campgrounds in Croatia, as they offer less value for money. Often the facilities are actually worse and they cost a lot more. Anyway, on to the day's cycling. As this is a long video, I probably won't talk all the way through it, as I'll run out of things to say. I know, me run out of things to say, but there we go. So, the day was a nice clear blue sky day, and obviously it was a little bit hot as well, and there was also quite a lot of hills today. Now someone said, they gave me a bit of feedback and said, you're making this tour look very easy. Well, in a way I do take that as a compliment, so thank you very much. If it does look easy, it's because I'm putting into play a lot of bicycle touring experience. I mean, I've done some, much longer trips and in much harder countries. I mean, when I had to cycle through Sudan and Ethiopia, these were very challenging places. Croatia is not challenging on that same level. Of course, the terrain is still hilly, but it's not as challenging as, not literally knowing where the next water is or where the next village is. That is a different ball game. With Croatia, it is nice and easy. Basically, you do 80 kilometers. There's going to be some sort of town or village somewhere, and it will have a camping if you want. And you could wild camp. This section of that I did today, there was plenty of places you could have wild camped. It's just that I'm not wild camping on this trip at the moment. So this is me just heading towards the city of Zadar. I didn't actually enter the city, I skirted around the outside in the end. There was no need for me to enter. And the road itself was lovely and new, nice and smooth. So it made it nice swift work of it really. And at times there was also little bits of bicycle paths as well. And sometimes these were handy and sometimes they just ended abruptly. The problem with a bicycle path is if it is not labelled, marked up clearly and signposted clearly, you just never know when it's going to end. So you get off the road and onto a bike path, but if you've only pedalled for 300 metres and then the path ends, it's kind of a waste of time and energy, because then you go back onto the road again. So this is kind of a semi-path now, and you can see where the line is. And again, this just ended basically outside of a shopping mall, and that was the end of the path. So it was nice to be off the traffic, off the way of the traffic for a while, but it did end a little bit suddenly. But there you go. Not going to complain about everything or anything. In fact, I think it was a great day today. So as I said, somebody said I'm making the tour look easy. So there's a bit of experience in there, and I know that on longer days that I'll finish in a hotel because I want to rest up. And I know when it rains, I'm going to sit out in the rain so I don't get wet. And it's just these little things that help make the tour just go that little bit smoother. Now the other side of it is that there are times when it is hard work. Like today, I had to dig deep on some parts. It was a long day. There were some tough hills. And you do have to sort of look inside yourself and go, okay, I really need to get this done, even though it'd be like just as easy just to say, sod it for the day, I'm going to stop and chill out, which I would have liked to have done sort of 30 kilometres short on here. But in a way I'm glad I didn't, because once I had got onto Pag Island itself, it was really stunningly beautiful. So I'm going to stop talking for a while and let you get some pictures of the road, and then as we get closer to Pag Island, I'll start talking again. So then, as I cut across the country, I could all of a sudden see the coast in front of me, and it was a very nice sight. It was a lovely clear day, and you could see the island in front and the coastline as well, and some sandy beaches. So I took a little break just before I headed down, and then it was time to head for the bridge. On the map, I was really unsure as to how long this bridge would be, and it wasn't that long in the end. But it was nice to cycle over all the same anyway. And this is me messing around with the selfie stick. I wasn't going too fast, honestly. It wasn't dangerous at all. In fact, I looked like cool and relaxed doing it. Yeah, kind of cool. I suppose I could have mixed this all much better in the video editor, but it's now 11 o'clock at night and I'm a little bit tired after cycling 100 kilometers in the day, so it'll have to do the way it is. So as I was saying, Croatia has got some stunning coastline, and this section is quite noticeable because of the lack of trees. Now there was a headwind blowing over as well, so not only have I got some hills, but also got a headwind I'm working against. This is the bridge leading across to Pag Island, and I thought I'd give you a view there to the right as well. I just love the way the clouds just seem to be so clear, and yeah, this is quite a special little area, this. So, and it was really nice cycling. It's probably some of the best day cycling of the trip actually. So the bridge wasn't actually that long, it just took, I don't know, like a couple of minutes to get across. On the other end, tomorrow I'm expecting to have to catch a ferry, and I think it's not quite peak season yet, so there'll be some sort of time, so I'll perhaps have to wait for like a maximum of half an hour or so. On the other side of the bridge, I'll look back the way I came and just panned across, and there seems to be some sort of castle or defensive structure down there. Not too sure what it's about. Again, I'm on such like tight deadlines, haven't got time to go down and explore things like this, which is a shame on the one hand, but maybe it's there for next time if we decide to come back to Croatia and do some bicycle touring. So then it was cycling through Pag, and it was almost like a lunar landscape. There was nothing really growing to start off with, and it's just sort of like rock, and it's quite barren, and the wind was blowing across. And this is the point where I needed to dig deep a little bit, because at this point I was a little bit tired. You know, despite sort of drinking and eating as much as I could, it's you know, it's difficult to keep your energy levels going. Plus I hadn't had a cup of coffee all day, which was something I would have to sort out for the following day. And I saw quite a few cyclists on this section. I'm not sure if there's a local cycle club that are practicing around Pag Island area, or if there was like a mini tour or competition or what was going on, but I saw quite a few cyclists following each other. So don't know if that's interesting to you. It was kind of interesting to me. That was a picture of some sort of general. I'm not entirely too sure why it was there. Just thought I'd put it on there. Did you catch the name of that one? Yep, Camping Jerko, or Hotel Jerko. Nice name. So once I reached Pag city or town, which I guess is the capital of Pag Island, I cut across it and then took a very minor road which followed the coast. Now this part was the best cycling of the day and of the trip. It started off as a quiet country lane almost, with the coast on the right hand side, and then it turned into a dirt track. as I went along, and obviously at this point, because it was the best cycling, my GoPro eventually runs out, doesn't it? Obviously. So the first thing I'm going to do when I get to some sort of big city, which I think now will be Bratislava, is invest in an extra battery for the GoPro, because this is starting to irritate me somewhat. Anyway, so I followed this coast road, and it was a very special part of the coast. Oh, just going to stop off for a drink first though, because I'm a little bit thirsty. And these markets are quite a feature everywhere. It seems every small village has got a market. And this is an example of the coastline that I was following. So I took this on my phone camera and just panned around. And yeah, you can see how good it is. Anyhow, I then ended the day in a hotel in a place called Calon. And that's all I've got to say. Great day cycle, and I will see you next time. Cheers for now.
Good morning everyone. So I'm all packed and ready to go again. As you can see, I was staying in a hotel during the night, and behind me there is the bike. Yes, I did bring it into the hotel room, and all my stuff is packed and ready to go. Here's a little moan to the hotel industry. Okay, this is to do with Wi-Fi. Now this might seem a first world problem, it might seem a travel blogger problem, but it's not. Let's think about this. If you advertise Wi-Fi, it should be good and it should be strong. If you put in a plumbing system, you don't put a plumbing system in for 20 rooms and then expect one pipe to do everything, do you? And the same with Wi-Fi. If you're going to offer Wi-Fi, make sure it's strong in all the rooms. As it was, my Wi-Fi sucked. Not good. I need my Wi-Fi. Anyway, moving on from that and back to the cycling. So today is going to be a 70-kilometre day, and I need to get off of Pag Island and catch a ferry over back to the mainland. And once onto the mainland, I believe it's a 200-metre, almost steep vertical ascent upwards, which will be a bit of a killer. But then after that, hopefully things should level out a little bit more. And I'm aiming to stay in a place called Senj. So I need to be in a campground in Slovenia for Tuesday, as Big Berry campsite is kindly hosting me for 2 nights for free, and it's a glamping site, so I'm looking forward to that. But obviously I need to get there, and there's quite a few mountains in the way. So the next 3 days, because it's Sunday now, are going to be quite tough cycling to get there, but it's all doable. Just take it nice and easy and turn the pedals and see what happens, basically. So I will hit the road and give you some images from the road, assuming that the battery in the GoPro doesn't run out again. Speak to you in a bit. Bye.
The soothing sounds of classical music. I thought this music was quite fitting for this little bit of countryside. In a way it reminds me of Scotland, and it has a kind of elegant sparseness about it. There's little stone walls to one side and the other side. You can imagine that there would be sheep being farmed here, although I didn't actually see that much livestock here. In fact, of all the cycling I've done in Croatia, I've not really seen a lot of farming. Now admittedly, I've had the coast on one side and mountains on the other side for most of the journey, but I've not really seen much farming. And here it's like it's all laid out for farming, but nothing's really going on. So what is Pag Island all about? Well, I didn't spend long enough there to find out, but it is one of the more beautiful parts of Croatia that I visited. And I think exiting from where I was staying and heading towards the ferry sort of brought that back, and it was nice and relaxing as I cycled along. Of course, the relaxing didn't last that long. There was then a series of up and downy bits, as I like to put it technically. Other people call them hills. So I knew today was going to be a tough one. And in fact, by the time I'd covered even 15 kilometres, I'd already gained 600 metres total ascent. So yeah, it was quite a challenging day on that front. So from where I was aiming to reach a ferry, and from the ferry I would leave Pag Island and then reach the mainland again. To do that, there was no shops really or anything along the way. It was just the road and fields on one side, fields on the other side, and these mountains in front of me. And as I headed towards the mountains, it kind of dawned on me that once I caught the ferry to the other side, I was probably going to have to cycle up the mountains, and they looked pretty big. So my idea of a quick ascent on the other side and then smooth cycling was probably not going to pan out, and indeed it didn't. During the day I actually did a total of 1,000 metres ascent, which doesn't sound a lot. For people in old currency, that's 3,300 feet, I think. But when you've got a fully loaded touring bike, yes, it is. Anyway, so I'm heading down towards where the ferry is now. I hadn't really researched the ferry times. It's not blind luck I go on. I know that the ferry is going to be running reasonably regularly. If I miss one, I'm sure I'd only have to wait like a half an hour or an hour to get another one. As it was, as I zipped down the hill, I could start to see a line of traffic waiting. And so it was pretty obvious that there was a ferry about to depart. So a fairly simple matter, just pull up to one little booth, buy a ticket for the ferry, which was 33 kuna, as they charged for the person and the bicycle, which I think is outrageous, but never mind. And then cycle up to the ferry to get on it. And obviously the cars are all waiting in a line, but I'm a bicycle, I've got priority, and that's the way it should be. So zip in and out, yeah, give him a bit of a close call there, and then head on to the ferry itself. And these little ferry crossings, I think the ferry crossing itself was about like 10 minutes or so. And it was pretty good once I got on there. I just leaned the bike to one side on the ship and then just enjoyed the sail over and the views of Pag Island. It's quite nice when you get a ferry like this and you zip past all the traffic, because these guys have been like whizzing past me, for the last God knows how long. And it's nice just to be able to get one up on them and go straight to the front of the queue. So I just hand this guy my ticket, he tears a stub, and then I cycle on. All pretty informal, very simple. And I'm always a bit wary when I cycle onto the boats, if once I lean the bike to the side, if it's going to be like rocky waves, if the bike's going to fall over. So I ended up putting the bike next to this white car, and I thought, okay, if the bike falls over, it's probably going to cost me money, but it was a smooth crossing. So that's a view out over to some of the cars and where we're heading to, and that's a view out to the side. And that's where I've come from. And like I said, Pag Island was a bit of a highlight for me. So if you're planning on doing a bicycle tour in Croatia, I would say visit Pag Island. Now, I did meet a few bicycle tourists today en route, and I chatted to a few of them. A couple weren't going to Pag Island at all, which I thought was a bit of a shame. So they're going to carry on the coast route. But I think I think it'd be a shame to miss it out, because they sounded like they had time. So it seems that everyone is coming in the opposite direction from me, which is fine, which means I get to say, hi to everyone, and there's two people in front of you that are half a day in front, and blah, blah, blah. But no one seems to be going in my direction. So everyone I ask, have you seen any cyclists going in this direction? Everyone says no. So I wonder why people do a north to south route predominantly. When I thought about it, all my other bicycle tours have been north to south as well. So I did the north of New Zealand to the south of New Zealand. I did Alaska to Argentina, and I did England to Cape Town. So yeah, it's just one of those peculiarities. Nationality-wise, on the cyclists that I've met 3 Spanish people now in total, a couple of Germans and a couple of Dutch. So, and all these Spanish people are kind of following the same route as well. So it's nice to see different people out on the road cycling. And these are a couple of the cyclists that I met. One was Spanish and one was German. So I asked about tunnels going up the road, and they said, yeah, there is one. And I thought, well, that's not a tunnel. Well, I don't know what it is actually, some sort of monument. But that's a tunnel. But not too big. Got through it, no problems, and on to the other end. And basically today was hard work. I had to dig a bit deep, but I felt strong at the end of it, and I just eat well, drink well, and get ready for the next day. And it also helps when you stay in a great apartment. Check it out.
Well, as expected, that was a tough day's cycle, but let's have a look at where I ended up. €20 apartment. I think I'm the master at finding value for money. So this is the living room stroke kitchen, and that stuff on there, that's not what I would normally eat, but all the shops are closed and there's only the fuel station open, so I had to get whatever was there that was good, and that was the best of a bad bunch. So that's going to be lunch stroke dinner. And so we have a kitchen, and over here the bathroom, bedroom 1, and down here bedroom 2. I know, a 2-bedroomed apartment for €20. What's going on? Croatia is like, some things seem expensive, and then all of a sudden something else will come and just shock you about how cheap or how much value for money it is. I don't like saying cheap. Value for money is what I'm going for. So there we go. End of another day's cycle, finishing at Senj. And the next 2 days until I get to Slovenia are going to be reasonably hard work. I expect a lot of ascent. The total ascent for today was 1,000 meters, and I expect pretty much the same for the next 2 days. So it's about 3 o'clock now. So for the rest of the day, basically, I'm just going to get rehydrated, eat as much as I can, get some rest, and then prepare for tomorrow. So that's it for now, and I will talk to you next time. Cheers. Good morning, everyone. So it's time to hit the road yet again. So last night I got some rest in, ate loads, ridiculous amounts. So I had like 500 grams of pasta and all that stuff you saw on the table before. Really rehydrated myself well. So I'm looking forward to the day. It's still going to be a tough one. I know that. It's about 1,200 meters total ascent, maybe even more than that. But no, I'm ready for it. I'm about as ready for it as I'm going to be, unless I actually took the bus, of course. But that's cheating. I don't do that. If I put my mind to something, I'm going to do it. So I have 70 kilometers to cover over very hilly terrain. The first 20 kilometers is all uphill without a break. So that'll be good, won't it? Sweet. And that's about all really. So I'll hit the road and give you some videos from the road. Speak to you in a bit. Cheers. So I thought I'd do the commentary a little bit about mindset and physical capability when it comes to cycling up hills and things. So in a way, I don't actually consider myself a cyclist. Now I know that seems a bit weird considering that most of my trips have involved cycling thousands of kilometres around the world. But I actually consider myself to be a traveller who cycles. I just use the bicycle as a means of travel. So I'm not like a lycra cyclist. I couldn't tell you what my ideal cadence is. I have no idea of the technicalities of cycling at all. I just get on a bike and pedal it. And that's my belief, is that anyone can do a bicycle tour. Now, I am reasonably fit. I'm also 44 years old, so I'm not young anymore. And these are going to be some serious mountains. So yes, my physical fitness is going to help me out, and over the course of the tour, my legs have developed in strength. That's great. But the main thing is the mindset. Now, you can approach this uphill section and go, oh my God, it's just going to be so tough, and I don't know if I can make it, and And trust me, that negative mindset will mean that you won't make it, and you will find it tough, and you won't enjoy it. I've been there, I've done it. That's what happens. But if you have a positive mindset, it makes all the difference. If you can just put a positive energy into it, sure, it's still hard work, but you're going to feel a lot better, and it's more rewarding when you see a view. It's like when you get to the top of a hill or around a bend, and then you look around, then there's a wonderful view there. And to be fair, it's the only way you can get through pretty tough days, because this was overall, the entire day ended up being 1,600 meters of ascent, and you'll see in a minute how I reached this first peak and the stats involved in this. But a lot of it is just cycling on with it. You just got to get on with it, and that's one of the challenges that I like about doing bicycle tours. It is a physical challenge, but it's also a mental challenge. It's like waking up in the morning and just saying, yeah, I'm just going to do this, and just enjoy it as well. And that's the most important thing. Well, this is my opinion when it comes to bicycle touring. I'm sure that everyone is different. Anyhow, I'm just about to reach the top of the first hill. I've taken you the short way, as it took me a couple of hours, but it's only 5 minutes for you here. And I'll show you the stats from the hill. So I hope you can hear me over the sound of the wind, which is quite strong up here. But I've reached the highest peak of the day so far. I'm at 700 meters, and I basically started off at sea level. And this is the view that I get, which I think you'll agree is quite rewarding. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that view. Obviously, there was a little bit of work involved. Let's have a little walk over to the bike, and I'll show you the computer on the bike to show you the stats. I'm not sure if this will show up, so I'll read them out at the same time. So I have, would help if my shadow wasn't in the way. I'll read them, it's probably easier. So total ascent of 724 meters, and I'm at an elevation of 699 meters. Okay, so I've got 1 more meter to go. I've only done 15.1 kilometers today so far. That's taken me 1 hour and 55 minutes. And apparently I've burnt 1,000 calories. Yeah, it feels about that. And there we go. So I don't know if you can see on there, but I've got a little downhill section, and it looks like the very highest peak of the day is going to be at about just over 1,000 meters, and that'll be a bit later on. So for now, I will finish enjoying the view, have a banana, have something to eat, and hit the road. Speak to you in a bit.
So for every uphill section, obviously there's a downhill section. And on the way down, I started passing through towns and villages which look very different than the coastal region of Croatia. They've got almost Germanic or even Austrian look to them. And I started thinking about the nature of the people as well. I found the people in the south of the country, particularly from Split to Dubrovnik, to be quite sullen people. And this is no offence to people from Croatia, by the way, but I found it very hard for them to almost smile and to get a conversation going. But as I've headed north, the nature of the people's changed and everyone's a lot more open and friendly. And I don't know if it's got something to do with the tourism that is around the Dubrovnik area. Maybe it's just changed the nature of the people, but it's definitely noticeable. Well, it was noticeable for me on my bicycle tour anyway. So I just thought I'd mention that. So as I said, we're coming downhill. Now I use my GPS and Garmin Connect to plot my routes to some success. And one of the best things about using it is it gives you an idea of the topography of the land, so you know where it's going to go up, you know where it's going to go down. In a way, it's a bit of a mixed blessing, because obviously I'm enjoying this nice downhill section now, but I know that there's another uphill section coming up, so I'm losing 200 metres of elevation, and I know I've got to put on another 300 metres of elevation in another 5 kilometres time. So at this point, it starts making life a little bit harder, really, but still, it's all part of the fun. And at this point, as I hit the other uphill section, I thought I'd mess around with the camera angle. I'm not going to be a Spielberg by the looks of it. I don't think my filmmaking skills are very good, but hey, you know, thought I'd experiment with the camera a little bit. And yeah, that's me really enjoying the road there. So yeah, going uphill, I mean, it's obviously, it is hard work, and it doesn't matter how much food and water you take on board, you can't quite put enough back into the system to replace what you're burning off. And I think over the last few days I've been in calorie deficit, which is I need to put right once I get back onto some flat road. So I'm going to get back up to the top of the next hill and give you some more stats.
Hi there, so as you can see, I'm more or less at the peak of the highest point of the day. So a total ascent today so far of 1,391 metres, and I'm currently at 874 metres in elevation, and I've done 49.6 kilometres, and it's taken me 4 hours 46, so I'm not exactly going to set many world records. On the other hand, the calories, well, surely I've earned myself a big dinner from that, haven't I? And so it should be all downhill from here. I mean, I think I might have a couple more meters to go to get to the top. But looking over there, which I think is the way I'm headed, that looks to be a bit of a rain cloud. So I'm not too sure if I'm going to get wet or not. So I will get on with it and let you know later.
When I look at this tour after almost 30 days on the road now, I sometimes can't believe how smoothly it's gone. Everything seems to have gone my way. Even today, when it rained eventually, it did so as I was coming downhill and there was a cafe on my left-hand side. So as soon as it started raining, I just pulled into the cafe literally with my bike, sat down and had a coffee. And then 20 minutes later, the weather cleared and away I was again. So after that highest peak, it was basically all downhill, and I was heading to a town called Ogulin, where I got another cheapy hotel booked, €18 for the night. After this, I head straight to Slovenia, and I'm being hosted for 2 nights in a campsite called Big Berry Camping, and I'm going to see what that's all about. Apparently it's a glamping site, so I'm quite looking forward to checking it out. And once I've left there, it's a matter of heading to Bratislava for my next deadline, where I meet the missus, who's flying over for another 10 days. So this is the end of the day cycling. It's just me cycling through to Ogulin. A long day, probably the toughest day of the tour so far, but at the end of it, I felt really good. I felt like I could achieve almost anything. So again, it's a case of just getting some water down me, eating plenty, resting, getting ready for the next day. Thanks a lot. See you next time.
all in all, as you can see, the bike is packed and ready to go, and I'm just going to enjoy my cappuccino before I hit the road. 60-kilometre day today, across the border into Slovenia, and staying at the Big Berry campsite. Small uphill section and then mainly flat afterwards, or so I think. Anyway, I'll show you some videos from the road and I'll catch you later. Cheers for now.
So, as I left, I followed the GPS, and this should have been a nice 60-kilometre day, and the road should have been nice and easy. However, the GPS decided to take me on its mystery route once more, so I ended up going on a quiet country lane like this, which I thought, yep, this is fine, this is what I come to do bicycle touring about, that's cool. And then it started to become a little bit more overgrown, and at this point I thought, I think the GPS is going to do its normal thing, which is lead me either to a dead end, through a grass field, or up a rough track. So you can take your pick now as to which one that was, but it was the rough track. So sometimes this GPS is good, and it's not the fault of the GPS, it's just the fault of the mapping system, because the road would have been set to sealed, apparently. And to start off with, it is sealed, but eventually it becomes unsealed. So the GPS is something to be used as a guide, but not something to be relied on. As I'd only got a short day in mind, I thought, well, it doesn't matter, let's see it through, see where it goes. And where it went was up this very, very rough track, which eventually I couldn't cycle because it was too steep, so then I had to grind to a halt and get off and push. But I suppose it's all part of the adventure, and it's not like, you know, it wasn't that far that I had to push it. So I pushed it for about 250 metres, although that was all the way uphill, unfortunately. And I don't normally agree with pushing bicycles, by the way, I should say. You should always cycle when you can, but it was, at this point, impossible for me to cycle. The road was too rough, and the steepness of the angle was just too much to move the bike. But there we go. What, you know, I had nothing better to do that day, did I? So once I left this rough track, eventually, I hit a sealed road again. And this was a nice road to follow, actually. So I'm now cycling through Croatia and heading towards the Slovenian border. And this road was a very nice one to follow. It was sealed all the way, very quiet, just the occasional traffic, one way or the other, but nothing like the main roads. And as you can see, there was trees on both sides, and you know, I passed through countryside, and yeah, it was very serene. And I've been led to believe that Slovenia is a very beautiful country, and at this stage, I wondered if Slovenia would look like this. And as I'm doing the commentary a couple of days later, I shan't reveal yet what Slovenia's like. You'll have to watch the next videos. Haha. So it was going to be another border crossing eventually, and but until then there was just a few kilometres to go. I timed my currency quite well as well. So at this point I had 3 kunars left in my pocket. 3 kunars is worth about 50 euro cents, by the way. So and I tend to do that. I tend to plan to the last day, and I work out what I can spend my final currency on, just to get rid of it, because obviously, you know, a kunar is no good anywhere else other than in Croatia. And yeah, so there we go. And if you remember yesterday, I said the nature of the houses was changing, the design of the houses, and they looked almost Austrian or Germanic in a way. And it was the same on for this little ride coming up to the border as well. So yeah, it was all very pretty and very nice. And with the memory of that rough track behind me, this was a good day's cycle. In the end, it worked out to be about 72 kilometres, I think, in total. But yeah, that was all good. And obviously, I was heading towards Big Berry campsite, so I had my destination in mind as well. So everything was cool. So what else should I talk about then? Thoughts on Croatia. I liked cycling through Croatia. I was a little bit disappointed with Dubrovnik, as I mentioned in a couple of videos. One of which has not got the greatest feedback from Croatian people, but sorry, you know, if that's the way I feel, it's the way I feel. I can't pretend otherwise. But the rest of the country, from northwards, from Split onwards, I thought the people were great. I thought the views were great, the coast, the countryside. Yeah, so I think Croatia is definitely a country I would like to discover more about. I'd like to do some more bicycle touring. I've stuck to the coast mainly. But it would be nice to look at the inland section a little bit more. And it was actually at this point on the tour I realised that I'd left the coast behind me now, and I probably won't be seeing the sea until I get on the ferry from France to England at some point. So yeah, I'd probably miss my little swims, unless there's a river to swim in. Maybe there's one in the Big Berry campsite, you never know. Again, you'd have to check some other videos out, won't you? So, as you can see, there's some very pretty looking buildings here, and at this point I thought, yeah, we're slowly transitioning into Slovenia. So to me it's always curious where borders are and why there's a border there, and are people completely different one side of the border than the other side. It's always an interesting question to answer. The part of the border that I was heading to is separated by a river. So it's obvious why the border's there. It's like a natural border. And you find that with some countries there's a natural border of mountains or a river. It's the countries which don't have a natural border, it was like put in place after a war or something. They're normally the countries where it's, they're a little bit stranger. But this is more of a natural border that I'm heading towards. So again, with border controls, all fairly straightforward. I cycled up and through one border section, and he kind of waved me through. And then at the Slovenian entrance to the border, he took my passport and had a look in it in more detail after scanning it. I think it was more interesting just where I'd travelled to than anything else. But each to their own. Not a very interesting job, I imagine, being in charge of the checkpoint on a border crossing. And I think we're getting to the border crossing section in a little bit, so I'm probably preempting the excitement that you're going to feel when you see the actual video itself. Sorry about that. So yeah, just cycling through, cycling on, here we go. So one day I'll probably run out of things to say on these videos, won't I? But I don't think that day is coming anytime soon. I can always find something to talk about at some point. So here we go. This is me leaving Croatia. And I thought, okay, do I have to show my passport to anyone? And there was no one in the little box. So you obviously don't need to be checked out of Croatia. So, yeah, just carried on through. And then crossed the bridge. Which is obviously over the river that I was on about, and this must be the River Kolpa. And over the other side of the bridge, that's the checkpoint or the border crossing to enter into Slovenia. And as I mentioned, once I got to the checkpoint, I just handed my passport over, and the guy just sat there and looked at it for a while, and then away I went. And that was it. I was into another new country. So the new countries on this trip for me so far have been Albania. What was the other ones? Croatia, Montenegro, and a small part of Bosnia and Herzegovina. And now we're in Slovenia, another new country. And I think I'm here for about a total of 10 days. And the Big Berry campsite are hosting me for 3 nights, which is very kind of them. Thank you very much. And this is me now in Slovenia. Now, to you, it might not seem very different than the country that just left behind, but immediately I could sense that there was. It's very different. Everything seems to be beautiful or neat, or it's designed with the aesthetic quality in mind. It's hard to explain, but the houses and the churches are all different. There's lots of flowers in flower pots in the windows, and there's more attention to detail. The grass is mown, and I could tell that I was in a different country. So there was a small transition period, as I said, between the border, but this is now a new country, and a very pretty country it is. And from the very little that I saw on the cycle to the campground, I could tell that it was going to be a beautiful country, and one that I think I'm going to enjoy a lot. So, what else is there to say, really? I headed towards the campground. I came across a cycle path, which was good. Slovenia has tried to make a push for bicycle tour and attracting cyclists. Slovenia is trying to develop tourism, but I think it's going about it in the right way. It doesn't want mass tourism. It wants to specialise in certain areas, because Slovenia is famous for its countryside and the open spaces. It's got a low population. The last thing they need are 10 million tourists a year. They don't need that, and I don't think they want that. I think what they want to do is maintain the quality of life they've got, but invite more people into the country. And I don't know. I think little things like the bicycle paths. I mean, this is only one that I've been on, but if these are throughout the cities and something, it's a major step up from the countries that I've been to. I mean, a bicycle path in Greece is just a joke. you know, and actually Albania had better bicycle paths than Greece. I didn't really see many at all in Croatia. There were a couple, as I mentioned, where it ended abruptly at a supermarket, but it wasn't like a part of the infrastructure. And I got the feeling just from that little section that they built the road and thought, okay, I'm going to have a bicycle path, not just like a little tiny section for bicycles, which was, again, very nice. So I'm just cycling through a couple of towns. I stopped off in the supermarket to buy some supplies. Local currency is the euro, so back to using the euro now, which I'll use all the way through until France, until I cross to the UK, apart from Hungary. I'm due to go to Hungary at some stage. And that's about all I've got to say. I rolled into Big Berry Campground at about 3 in the afternoon, and as I said, they're going to put me up for 3 nights whilst I stay there, and I'm going to just explore the area. They're going to take me around and show me some things. I'll visit some local businesses, find out a little bit about Slovenia. And that's all I've got to say for this one. So, take it easy guys, and I will speak to you on the next video. Cheers for now.